Welcome back, folks. It's another great day here on Valiant Renegade. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. Share this sucker out on the social medias. And do leave a comment before you head out today. Because this is where Hollywood comes to get put through the business and financial lens of reality. It's time. Renegade Online. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Good to see everybody out there. I'm always on the wrong screen size here when I do this. I don't know how I keep doing that, but I keep doing it. Good to see everybody out there once again, back here live at 5:30 on a Sunday afternoon. I had to make a game time decision. Sorry about that. I had so many home repair cleaning stuff projects going on this weekend. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get this started at 5 and not be ready to go. So I had to push it back for 30 minutes. Thank you to everybody for being a little bit patient with me on this one. Happens from time to time. Doing a little car cleaning, car repair, home cleaning, home repair, all kind of stuff going. I wish I could spend from Friday evening when I get off of work till Sunday afternoon just doing show prep. I can't. I wish I could, but I can't. I would love to do that. Life gets in the way, but you guys are the best audience on YouTube, and I thank you all for being here. We have a metric shitload of things to go through tonight. There is so much going on right now. Obviously, the big news of the week in the entertainment sector has been the Netflix, Paramount, Warner Brothers thing. And Ted Sarandos, who's been doing some interviews with places like Bloomberg, shedding some light on the thought process. Frankly, none of it terribly surprising. And if, believe it or not, tampons were involved. I'm not making this up. Just wait. I think it's one of the funniest stories of the week. And look, I get it. There's so many people on the left out there, and I'm not talking about, friends of mine out there that were fans of Netflix winning or not a fan of Paramount winning. I'm all there with you. Remember, I'm going to make this clear once again. I was in favor of nobody buying Warner Brothers. I was in favor of Warner Brothers just staying Warner Brothers. But having done what I've done for over 20 years in the financial planning realm and watching Wall Street do what they do, once the writing was on the wall, it was a done thing. You got to pick a side. And Paramount to me was the better of the two options. Now, of course, the people on the left out there are losing their mind over this. We're all going to die. Democracy is over. Freedom of the press has just died this week. All kind of stuff. Again, for all of these kooks out there, everything's perfectly la-di-da when hardcore leftists and Democrats have been running the entirety of the mainstream media for 40-something years. But God forbid, somebody that is allegedly slanted in the other direction is going to come in and own a couple of different major studios for news. Tough. And as I keep saying, it really doesn't matter. Most of America, most of the world doesn't get its news from traditional sources any longer. They get it from here on YouTube. They get it from X. They get it from new sources of media. Did you see the stats this week for X? It's through the roof. The engagement on X in the last few days has been incredible. It's record-breaking. Again, this is where people are going. So all of this stuff about, CNN this or CBS that, Hey guys, guess what? It kind of doesn't matter because that's not where people are watching. But we'll get to all of that. We've got a bunch of stories out there, including that one, including many others. And of course, as always, we're going to kind of get back to the OG business here because it's that time of the year where the box office is starting to turn a corner. And we're starting to get big stuff released again, or bigger stuff. You know, you get that lull every year between Christmas and March to April, and there's not a whole lot at the box office to talk about. But this weekend, we have something to talk about. Matter of fact, that something to talk about is Scream 7. And it is setting records at the box office. And I've got Tom Connors waiting in the wings backstage. Going to come in here. We'll have a little bit of a discussion about what we thought about the film, but the core of the discussion is going to be about the box office. I will say this. We did have one great review come in on Scream 7 Thursday night following the previews. And matter of fact, it was from the Iranian supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei. And he said, and I quote, "Damn, this movie was so much fun, I almost fucking died." Tom Connors is joining me here. Tom, welcome aboard. Good to have you.
I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How's everybody doing out there?
Everybody doing good.
That's
I think.
good.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to grab some of these super chats here real quick. Before we get too long in the tooth. Daniel Alpine for $20. After seeing the AMC news, I officially gave up. Movie theaters are dead, and I'm cursed to live a boring life. And don't tell me to find alternatives because I can't. I hate life because all it does is take. Daniel, take a breath, man. I don't want you to... That sounds pretty dire.
Tell me, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean...
like scary movies?
What was... I mean, was
there's
there...
a good one in the theaters right now.
Was there something specific about the AMC? Are we talking about how they're planning on doing like the targeted seats?
Is that
like
because I'm kind of curious what he means by AMC.
They're gonna block off like the center seats in the theater for first come first serve to people that are subscribers. I mean, look, every business is doing this now. This has been going down the road. Things are changing. And like I've been saying, AMC, we cover the earnings call. We've covered their earnings calls for years. The thing with AMC is they, like the rest of the industry, they do understand that the number of patrons that they're seeing overall year over year is certainly still smaller than it was pre-COVID. But they're also understanding that many, if not most of the patrons that they're getting in there, if they're afforded an opportunity to pay a higher price for their ticket to get a quote-unquote premium experience on the largest screen with all the frills and the fancy seats and everything else in the bigger theater with the better sound system, they are gladly paying it. We talk about this all the time. The number of people that are showing up to theaters buying the PLF tickets, buying the IMAX tickets, it continues to accelerate. So they're responding to this by AMC and Cinemark and all the other guys out there. They've all talked about now for the last couple of years. They're investing hundreds of millions of dollars, billions probably collectively over the next 5 years to continue to build out and upgrade their PLF experiences because that's what people want when they go.
Unless Daniel means, according to Atlantean King Gaming, says AMC is closing underperforming locations. So that could be what's affecting him. But you know what's funny about that is Netflix is buying up a lot of those.
Yeah, there's a few of them that they're closing, but I mean, by and large, they're not closing terribly many. I mean,
unless he just means that, he's being priced out of the market. Like, I mean, I get it.
Yeah,
it's not the cheapest thing in the world to go see a movie, especially if you got to travel for somebody like me. But as I like to remind people, it's still cheaper than a lot of other things. There are alternative versions and ways you can see films that unless, you want to pay the big premium price like Valiant's saying, you can still go to the standard screening for the regular pricing and whatnot. But I mean, I remember it used to be first come, first serve in general. Like, I remember when reserve seating started coming in, I'm like, what the hell is this crap? But the upside now is I don't have to show up to the theater early if I don't want to, much like I did for Scream 7, unfortunately, because it wasn't a reserve seating situation. And then I ended up sitting there for 3 hours when the movie started at 6:30 and I didn't walk out till 9:15.
Just to get a seat. Yeah.
No, I mean, the movie started at 6:30, supposedly. started, meaning the preview started. And I did not walk out of that theater until 9:15.
Yeah, with all the previews. Yeah.
I actually walked into the theater about 6:00.
Yeah.
So 3 hours, plus altogether said done.
It's a time muncher, that's for sure.
It is. And I mean, if that's the thing too, is if I could pay a premium price to know when the movie's actually starting, that I would do.
Yeah.
As compared to
I hear you. Araxis, thank you for the 5 gifted Valiant Renegade channel memberships, my man. Good to see you out there. Packing Proton sent in a $2 super chat. Said, boy, wish something would happen. Ain't nothing happened this weekend.
No, not at all.
Crouching Taylor Hidden Swift for 5. Mr. Renegade, sir, LOL, we have a new enemy. Watch the trailer for this movie called Slanted. This could be the worst project to come along. I saw you sent this in a couple hours ago. I saw it backstage. I forgot. I didn't get a chance. I was so busy around the house. I'll have to look this one up. Slanted.
I'm
maybe
not familiar with it. Yeah.
I don't know, Tom. Maybe check it out. See what you can find out on that one.
I mean, and Robert's not wrong. They've always showed previews in movies, but now they show like commercials. Like and not only that, most of the previews they show we can see online now compared to used to. When it used to not see them only in the theaters or in front of VHS tapes and stuff. So anyway, Valiant, continue.
No, it's all right. A couple of more here. Tennessee Tornado for $5. These all came in before the show started, I think. I can no longer support Donald Trump for what happened this weekend. After spending 5 days in Illinois, I can confirm we wasted the bombs in the wrong place.
He's not wrong. Illinois is.
Woo! Yeah. He also gifted a channel membership. And he also says, with another $5 here before the show started, if you thought Ayatollah Khamenei had it rough, imagine the guy 40th in line of succession getting a call up to the majors a couple hours later. No kidding. He did get called up. There's rumors that he has already had his head blown off, but unconfirmed. It would be a lovely end to the weekend if we could find that one out. I don't normally celebrate people dying out there. It is not my MO. It's not most people's MO. But I think we can make exceptions in this case for the guy and the regime that has declared
you're not
that
celebrating
they want to
the
kill
death.
America.
You're celebrating the liberation, right? Like that's the difference.
That's it. Right. Most of the people in Iran they have the same mindset that the people of Iran had in 1978. And for those of y'all that don't understand it, Iran was Dubai in the 70s. It was the most westernized, cosmopolitan, schwanky, upscale society in the Middle East until 1979 when it all changed. If you want to know what Iran should look like today and could have looked like, it would look like Dubai. And we need more of those types of places out there in the Middle East, not fewer. That's the problem with that area. So this has been 4 or 5 different presidential administrations coming. Donald Trump finally did something about it. This isn't a new war. Iran declared war on this country decades ago. And they've killed U.S. troops out there operating in the Middle East, patrolling at bases in the Middle East. We're guests of foreign countries out there. They're bad people. The leadership of Iran is, and it's about damn time it has to go. Thank God that Donald Trump is not the kind of president that would just say, take a pallet of cash and drop it off on a runway somewhere in Iran to pay our enemies to leave us alone for a bit. Thank God we don't have pussies like that running the country anymore. Anyway. Medbutt for 5. Oh my, should I invest in Preparation H, Netflix, and CNN, and Lefties and Iranian government? Might be a little butthurt. Yeah. Slightly butthurt.
There's a lot of different angles with this whole Warner Brothers Paramount deal we'll get into, I'm sure. But
yeah. Medmutt gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Medmutt. And let's get one more here from Marcus Quintus. And now the Pakistanis are trying to take over a U.S. consulate, just like 1979 Tehran. And they are losing, thinking Pakistan will take up the mantle of the Middle East. Asshats after Iran. I think we all saw what happened to those Pakistanis. When you decide to bring baseball bats and swords and, yes, actual guns, because I shared a video of it. out there on X, and you decide to invade sovereign U.S. soil, which embassies and consulates absolutely are. Doesn't matter what country they're in. When you cross that gate, you are crossing onto sovereign U.S. soil. And when you decide to attack United States Marines, there is only one outcome that's going to happen. Quite frankly, the fact that only 22 of these fuckers died is a miracle. It should have been and could have been a lot more. So, mess around, find out. You found out. Sorry. Shrebbles for $2 late and blue waffles from Omar. Thank you very much, Shrebbles. All right, let's get into it. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Send on in the super chats. We appreciate you. William Thompson out there with 10 gifted. He just threw these down. I got to get to this one. Thank you, William Thompson, for the 10 gifted Valiant Renegade channel memberships and the $50 super chat. Much appreciated for the 50, but we might need...
I need about 350.
But I got 150. 150 right there. All right. Thank you very much, William Thompson. I appreciate it. All right. Let's kind of boil it down here. So we got
Tell me you did not give that Loch Ness
7.
monster no money.
No, Thomas, you didn't give him no money. He said I
No
needed
wonder he
$350.
won't go away.
Yeah, you gave him $1. That's why he came back, woman.
Anyway, speaking of coming back, a lot of people came back to the theaters for a Scream Baby. And I think most people just completely ignored the protests. And they were like, oh, wait a minute. The OG writer's back and most of the OG cast is back. Sign me up.
Wait, I'm sorry. Oh, there were protests? Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Like a whole 25 people from 3 different groups showed up.
Oh, that's right. And that's the story that the media ran with, the protest.
Oh, God, were they not? They were pushing that. And it's like, what? You got 25 people there. Nobody else cares.
No.
Right. And I was surprised when I went to the theater because, like I said to you before, I went to my podunk little theater where you don't even have to worry about reserved seating. Right.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, I was going to go to the AMC IMAX event, but I didn't find it until the day before or the day of or whatever. And I'm like, it's all full up. Crap. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go to the smaller podunk AMC, a little closer, see what happens. Nobody ever goes. I usually get, personal private screenings because nobody goes to these movies. Because for those who don't know, it's in this town that's a resort town. So the only time people go to the theaters if it's raining or there's something that people really want to see because everybody else is busy doing other things, right? Like there's like water parks and shows and other things going on. So it's one of the slowest theaters around. If anything, it might be one of the AMCs they end up shutting down. I wouldn't be surprised. But during the summer when it's raining, it is busy there because there's nothing else to do, because it's raining. But that being said, it was actually kind of full. I was like surprised when I sat down and the theater started filling up. I'm like, wait a minute here. There's something going on with this. And people were really getting into the movie. And I think it really was like that Scary Movie 6 trailer really sent it over the friggin' edge. And it's like, I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't think people really care as much as the media is trying to make this out to be. Yeah, there's a select group of people within that Scream community that are making a big stink about this. And don't get me wrong, there is some parallels here with Gina Carano, and I'm not going to lie about that. But at the end of the day, can we fault the owners of the Scream franchise for pretty much giving the fans what they want and the fans showing up? And whether they enjoyed the movie overall or not, I mean, that we can talk about a little bit. But I mean, the box office has proven that, I mean, here we are, a 7th film in the franchise. Yeah, it's the best opening so far, if you don't count inflation problem.
Right.
Even if the first film, for those who may not remember, first film flopped when it first opened. It did not start making money until January.
Yeah.
It took almost 3 months for it to make almost $200 million. The second film had a big opening, but this is telling me that this did better than the revival and the second film, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, a very different era back then when you had theatrical releases that had a lot of leg room, right? They'd be in the theaters for 6 months without batting an eyelash, right? So,
well, yeah, because Scream opened up against Beavis and Butthead directly. You had stuff like Star Trek First Contact, Jerry Maguire, Space Jam still playing in Christmas time, right? So it had nothing but competition, and the Weinsteins are like, let's throw it out in December on Christmas as a counter programming. And at first it looked like it was a folly because it literally flopped the opening weekend, and then word of mouth got around about it, and then it went up and up and up and up. By the time I think it was its 3rd or 4th weekend, it was the #1 movie in the country. and it had grossed over $175 million when it was all said and done in 1996.
Yeah. And I mean, look at this one here. And we're going to pull up the comparisons. And compared to the last two entries that came out post-COVID, I have those numbers here. We're going to show everybody. Scream 7 roars to record decibels with a franchise best $97 million global debut. David Ellison-owned Paramount can claim the first big #1 opening of the year. For an MPA title is Spyglass 7. Scream 7 roars to a franchise best opening of the year with $64.1 million domestic. 97.2.
Jesus, did more than, oh wow, it did even almost like 15 million more than they were predicting.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It's the best horror opening ever for Paramount, besting Paranormal Activity 3's 52.5. Now, I don't know, I can't remember when when Paranormal Activity 3 came out. Obviously, I think that was probably about 10 years ago.
But doesn't Halloween
still,
2018 have the biggest opening though for a horror film, I believe? If I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
Because I want to say that did well over 100 million its opening weekend, and I think that has the
on an adjusted basis. You mean
that was the 2018 movie? I think is still the high. I could be wrong. Somebody in the chat correct me, but I think that's the highest opening still. But yeah.
Ahead of 2001's Hannibal. 58 million. Again, now 2001, 58 million. Those dollars today would be like over 100 million for that movie. And Hannibal, for those of you that don't remember, that was the follow-up to Silence of the Lambs that starred Anthony Hopkins. So to break the franchise opening record with the 7th installment speaks to the lasting strength of the franchise, Ghostface staying power. The success of Scream 7 is a confluence of both nostalgic fans and a new generation embracing the franchise. That line right there I can attest to. I mean, having grown up with Scream, now I have not watched probably Scream 4, 5, and 6, I don't think. And I really haven't watched anything in the last 20 years, much apart from the first Scream movie. Renegade Jr. wanted to go see this. He saw Scream 6. Renegade Jr. wanted to see this one. He asked me to take him to it. Otherwise, I probably would have skipped it. The point is that it is bringing in the new generations because my 14-year-old said, "Get me tickets. Let's go."
Well, we did a video on this yesterday, and this is one of the few of the franchises that has done a revival, that has managed to gain a new audience. But what we're learning here is that audience isn't as wrapped up into the politics as the media is.
Yeah.
Right. See, that's the thing. Because if there was even any kind of impact, it would have went the opposite direction. Because even those fans who aren't wrapped up in the politics, who actually liked 5 and 6, the old school fans, they don't care, right? Like they're moving on. They don't give a shit. Yeah, they may have liked those storylines and they wouldn't have mind seeing more of an extension of those storylines, but at this point they don't care. They just want another fun Scream movie because that's what the genre is about, right? It's it is what it is. Like 5 and if you haven't seen 4, 5, and 6, guess what? It doesn't really fucking matter. This movie does not really, outside of acknowledging the last couple movies, there's nothing in this movie that requires you to have seen anything but the initial trilogy. That's the beauty of it. That's the kind of sequel this is. And that's why I think people are going into it, and for the most part, they're having a good time. Yes, some people are not enjoying it. Some people have thought it was crap. But you know what? Everybody has said one of these movies is crap since Scream 2. Right?
Right.
There's always going to be that group that doesn't like it. But you know what I noticed with the critic versus the audience score? It looks like we're getting back to normal. Because the critics loved the last two. The audience, for the most part, I guess, although I feel like it's been review bombed positively by a certain group on Scream 5. Scream 5 and 6 have a very high audience score, but this one seems more normal, right? Like this one actually seems like the critic score compared to the audience score seems like a horror movie normally is. It's in the 70s, 80s for the audience score, and the critics hated it. That sounds about right, because the critics always hate horror. The good stuff anyway. They like the elevated crap. They don't like this stuff. This is made directly for a specific audience, and it did its job for the most part. Now, I'm not going to say that, personal mileage may not vary, but I'm not seeing the outside of the political bullshit. I'm not seeing people going, oh, this feels like we were robbed of a whole nother storyline because these other two characters didn't come back. I'll tell you what, not many people were on board with those new characters. Yeah, they were happy to see Jenna Ortega, but Melissa Barrera's character was a bane on the franchise's existence. I don't know if you know anything about her character, but they do make a crack about her being Billy's illegitimate daughter, which she is. Billy Loomis, the original killer. And not only that, she saw visions of her ghost daddy in the movies. So, yeah.
Yeah,
it got bad, man. It got really bad.
I wasn't missing anything. I hopped back in. I'm like, oh, I know Nev Campbell. Okay, I can get this. For
so my point was I was getting around to is that those new Scream films, despite gaining a new audience, made the same exact mistake Star Wars did by making the hero a daughter of the original killer. So like with Star Wars, Palpatine's granddaughter was the new face of the franchise. It's kind of the same thing here. So I think like this was a move in the right direction, in my opinion.
It seemed like it worked because they certainly picked up an incredibly healthy audience for the weekend. Now, one thing I'm going to call to people's attention here is right here. We're truly grateful to audiences around the world who enthusiastically showed up to theaters ready for another thrilling Ghostface experience, said Gary Barber, chairman and CEO of Spyglass Media. And as we told you at Deadline, Paramount co-financed the movie 50-50 for a net $45 million production cost before prints and ads. So if we look at where we are right now at $97 million, obviously overwhelmingly favoring the domestic market. So Paramount's already in the clear. They've already paid all their bills for this movie, minus the marketing, minus the global P&A. They'll probably be able to make that up here in the next few days before next weekend, because generally horror movies like this don't cost a whole hell of a lot, not only to produce, but they don't spend a whole hell of a lot of money having to market these things.
Here's the list of biggest openings, just so we know where this stands. Number 1 is It, the remake. Yeah. Number 2 is the Chapter 2. I forgot about those two. Then The Conjuring, Last Rites. Then Five Nights at Freddy's. Then Halloween. Then Us. Then Scream 7. Then Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And I don't know why It's on here again. It must have had a re-release, evidently.
Maybe. I'll have to go back and look.
I don't know. They're counting like previews or something or other. I don't know.
I mean, it's
some weird reason.
It's definitely up there. I mean, look, take
and then
it for what it
Hannibal
is.
and The Nun. Yeah.
A 60, well, not again, just using raw dollars. I mean, of all the movies you just mentioned, with the exception of maybe Halloween was post-COVID.
Right. And that's the only reason I remember that one being a big deal, because that first movie, its entire like gross was more than the entire franchise to that point put together.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize. Yeah.
The question here with Scream 7 is, and this is the case with a lot of other horror franchises, how front-loaded is it? And that's what we're going to have to find out. Now, even if it is just as front-loaded as the last two entries, and I'll show you guys in a minute, it's still going to do pretty damn well, especially considering a $45 million budget. And this thing will get a lot of wind and legs once it lands on PVOD, and then it makes it to Paramount Plus. And of course, Paramount, just like Warner Brothers and Sony and several others, Universal included, have long-term pay-to window deals that take them outside of proprietary streaming services, aka Netflix. So, this thing is going to get a lot of life, and there's going to be a lot of, real money in hand once this movie leaves theaters. Again, here, production budget $45 million confirming here. What I want to show folks is kind of look where we're at. We look at the box office here, and again, front loading on these things can happen. Now, I will say this: the fact that even if we pull out the 7.8 to 8 million that was a Thursday preview, pay attention to this. That means the real Friday without the Thursday preview was about 21 to 22 million. Saturday was about 21, almost 22 million. Sunday fell down to 13. So that Friday to Saturday hold, especially once you net out that Thursday preview, actually pretty admirable. And again, this is a horror movie. A lot of horror movies tend to financially behave a lot like Marvel movies from Disney, where you get this big front-loaded audience and they fall off. But again, the big difference is with a horror film versus a Marvel film is that most horror movies are coming in with sub $50 million budgets, not $300 million like Disney Marvel movies.
Exactly.
So when you look at this and you say, shit, this thing did $64 million its opening weekend.
By next weekend, it will have made its money back because it only cost $45. Exactly.
It's already made its production budget back.
And
So,
it probably already has a few deals out there that'll pretty much
'cause
put it into black, and
it's got the international side here that's done really well.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the international, I promise you this is not like
because
all
you're right.
China.
Like the original Scream is an exception to the rule, right? Like that was a rare occurrence that just for some reason it just happened to come out, and boom, in January when there was nothing else going on after everybody else had seen everything else, word of mouth got around that this little movie,
Yeah.
was basically a John Hughes comedy meets a slasher meets an Agatha Christie movie. Go see it, and
Yep.
everybody's like, okay, I'll check it out. And it went to audiences that, as we put in our video, that normally you'd only get movies like The Exorcist or Silence of the Lambs that would normally get this kind of audience. For instance, like Hannibal, it just beat Hannibal's opening, right? Like, so there you go. That's the whole point. It is a crossover franchise that has the steady horror audience to see it. That's what kept the last two movies alive, along with, the Jenna Ortega crowd that came in to see her. But this movie here just shows you that, and I know a lot of folks that went to see this movie like yourself who hadn't seen the last few. And the reason why, a big reason why, and this isn't really that big of a spoiler because it's all in the trailers and shit, regardless of how he's actually in the film or not, I'm not going to get into that. But the number one reason most people said this, and I talked to a few individuals, and three of the women that I talked to that said they were going to see this that had not seen the last few, said they were going to see it because of Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
Do not underestimate this man. I have a feeling he is the next coming of Keanu Reeves because he is beloved by so many people between Scream and Scooby-Doo and the other stuff that he has done. And every story I've ever heard of him is that he's the most genuine, nice individual. When I interviewed and talked to him, he was so humble and so sweet. This guy has that going for him. Look at what happened when Tarantino decided to say, well, I would never work with somebody like so-and-so and Matthew Lillard, right? Like he just happened to pick, of all actors, you might as well send Keanu Reeves, you dumb shit. At that point, like, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, nobody hates Matthew Lillard, right? Like tell me one person who hates No, nobody does. They're like, even if they don't really care for him all that much, they're like, yeah, well, I don't hate him like Seth Rogen, Like, so I think that that's a big factor in this too, is that there's a lot of people that want to go see this because you got a lot of the OG stars that are playing some part in this. And again, not to get spoilery or anything like that. You know what I'm talking about. Certain people who've seen the trailers and seen the movie know what we're talking about. And again, it's not a perfect film, but if you saw it and you enjoyed it, I had fun. Did you have fun? The audience seemed to enjoy it that I saw it with. So
I enjoyed it enough. I mean, I didn't think it was awesome, but I was fine with it. I did like kind of bringing back some of the older characters. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm like the ending. I was like,
that's probably the weakest part. I agree with you, but I'm kind of coming around to certain things that I can't get into it because it'll be spoilery, but there was also a part of it that was refreshing despite it being a little disappointing. And if you understand what I'm getting at, then you'll be like, okay, I'll put it in the background and maybe you'll agree or disagree, but
I think I know what you're talking about. There was part of it is like, I almost wish they had gone that route instead of like kind of it was fine. I did enjoy it. It's good to see it doing well, but let's talk about it in comparison to the previous entries here, the post-COVID entries. So we got a Scream 2022, Scream 6, which was Scream 5, I guess.
Yeah.
Scream 6, 23, and now Scream 7. So here we are. We've got here, this is 2022, day 3, $30 million. Scream 6, day 3, $44 million. Day 3, Scream 7, 64. It ain't even close. And
oh, we just lost him, or is that me? Oh, so I'm still here. Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, so what? As he was saying, Scream 3's day comparison to Scream 5 and 4, or Scream 5 and 6, has been much, much bigger. So, oh my God, I'm all by myself now. Scream 6 sucked. I'll say it. Scream 6 sucked ass. 5 was bad too. I don't know what else to say till Valiant gets back here. I've never done this before in my life. This is my first day on the job. Please excuse me. No. So yeah, it clearly the not only did the protests not affect Scream's overall box office this weekend, there he is. There he's back.
This has been happening the last couple
this
of
film
days.
improved in comparison to the last two, as you were about to point out, I believe.
Yeah, and we've been having issues. For some reason, only when I'm doing shows, I've been having issues. I don't know if it's my StreamYard account or whatnot. I even did a reboot.
I actually have
computer.
a thing on the top of my StreamYard right now that says it's experiencing issues with streaming. So
again,
I have no idea.
okay. So then that's what it is. We had this problem Friday
That's why
night.
I wasn't sure if it was you or me. So I was like,
I had this problem Friday night with the member show, and then I think Thursday when we did something, I don't know. I mean, I was having problems the last couple of days with StreamYard, so it doesn't surprise me. Because I could still see the YouTube. I have the YouTube window open. The show was still going on YouTube, but my
I just wasn't sure if I dipped out or you did. So I was just sitting there quietly for a moment, and then the audience caught up and they're like, lost him. I'm like, shit.
Yep.
And then I'm like, that was just me, and I'm like, shit. Yeah.
Hopefully it won't happen again. No, but yeah, going back to this, you can see how big this got. I think I tapped that right here. Day 3, 44 million. Day 3, 30 million. That's 2022.
And it may be benefiting also from very, very little to no competition at this point.
It may be, but that's a lot of additional eyeballs in an opening weekend. I mean, and again, we have not had since 2023 to 2026. Yes, we have had some inflation. Maybe we can say ticket prices are 15, maybe % higher.
I will say this was the first one to do
still,
an IMAX opening as well. Keep in mind.
That is true. But again, that's all I help. But that goes to prove a point that I made earlier in the show that for the people that are still going to theaters, they're happy to pay $25 a ticket to go see the movie they really want to see on the biggest, most expensive high-end screen possible. So I mean, it's a new thing for them. And I mean, you look at the budgets here: $33 million in 2023. Or excuse me, $24 million in 2022 for Scream 5, $33 million for Scream 6 a year later, and then $45 million for Scream 7 this year. So obviously they're spending a little bit more and more and more, but they're getting the returns here. You look at this right now with the domestic box office at $64 million. Clearly, this thing is going to bury Scream 5 in 2022. And then $112 million for Scream 6 just 3 years ago. It should easily eclipse that. One of the things that I wanted to point out for everybody on these in terms of front loading in the box office is what you got to look at. Look at the final runs, right? So if you look at the total domestic box office here for 2022, it had an opening of 30 million and it finished off at 87. Okay, so almost. I'm sorry, that's inflation adjusted. 81. So basically a 2.6 set of legs from opening weekend. The next movie did, guess what? Almost the exact same thing. Almost roughly a 2.5-ish to 2.6. If this thing just does the same, that's going to make its final tally somewhere possibly around 150 million domestic. So that's still going to be a huge win for Paramount and for the Scream franchise. It's going to make plenty of money in the theater before it even gets to PVOD and
video sales and all that.
Yeah, third-party licensing.
Which the Steelbook
is
is already out for pre-sale and everything. So
yeah, so I mean, it's done fine from that end. So
it's going to do fine. Yeah, we can almost guarantee Scream 8 is going to happen now. Look, and I want to squash something right up front about, like, look, I get it that there's some people that are upset about the whole Melissa Barrera thing and all that kind of stuff. But let's just say in a perfect world, had Melissa Barrera not said a damn word about the Palestine thing, I still don't think Scream 7 would be the movie that people think it is. I still think there would be no way they would have been able to afford Jenna Ortega. Meaning that it would have been just Melissa Barrera herself, and or they would have probably went this direction anyway. Because at this point, Jenna Ortega is pretty much priced out of this franchise. Let's be real. Let's basically call out the elephant in the room. Because between Screams...
I don't know what other movie she's been in that was a big hit, though. You
doesn't
can say
matter.
Netflix Wednesday, but...
Yeah, between Wednesday and other shit like that, her price I guarantee, because honestly, if they thought they could have probably afforded Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera is so much of a nothing burger. You could actually have made Scream 7 without her, right? Like, and it just, to me, their storyline ran its course anyway, as stupid as it was. And there was no way they were going to be able to get Jenna Ortega for any cheaper than they did Neve Campbell. I just don't see it at this point. They had her at a cheap price because they had her under contract for 5 and 6, but they didn't have her under contract for 7, nor did they the other actress. So yeah, they pulled a Gina Carano on Melissa, but Jenna walked away. It wasn't like they fired her or said that her storyline was done. They could have continued her storyline just fine. Right. So like, to me, I feel like this was going to be an inevitable occurrence anyway. I don't feel like, for all those people that are making the big noise about this, I'm just saying, like, look, I think this would have been exactly what was going to happen no matter what, because of what you just pointed out. Scream 6, yeah, it did about as good as the last one, but you know what the word of mouth on Scream 6 was? Is even some of those fans didn't think that movie was so good. So I don't feel like if the Scream 7 would have followed that same path, I think it would have been diminishing returns, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because
I think
it was already going down a little bit.
She tends to be a little overrated.
And that could be too. Like, she may not be a big enough star to handle a franchise like this yet necessarily on her own. Well, but between Beetlejuice and Wednesday and some of the other stuff she's been in, I feel like she would have been priced out of this 7th film.
You may be right, but I mean, in terms of Beetlejuice, the draw, she wasn't the draw. That was Michael Keaton.
Maybe.
I mean, to some extent. The thing is, I mean, popularity on Netflix doesn't always translate, oftentimes doesn't, to big box office success.
But she's the closest we got to an it girl right now. So
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
With actual, like, proof behind her between Wednesday and stuff like that. And I know a lot of kids who saw Beetlejuice mainly because of her. And the same thing with Scream.
I can understand that. Yeah. Well, apparently it didn't matter this time. She wasn't in it, and look what happened. It's way
and like
bigger
I said,
than her
the old crowd came back too. That's the thing, is there's the difference, and this is kind of what our video was alluding to, and the proof is in the numbers and in the people that I spoke to, right? Because like you, a lot of those folks had not seen Scream 4 or 5 and 6.
Didn't care.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I barely remember Scream 2, and I have no recollection of Scream 3, although I think I saw it. So, but yeah, I was one of those that mostly checked out after the first one. Marcus Quintus here with $5. If you missed Friday night's member show, you missed some of the greatest VR quotes of all time.
What'd you say?
A lot, apparently, I guess.
But were you drunk?
Not really. No. We were just having fun on the member show. We went through a whole bunch of stuff that night. We were just goofing off. That's when we have all the panelists, like all the Renegade level members who are on the show. So
maybe you didn't know, but we have white privilege.
So flying blind on a rocket cycle for $2. Good evening, y'all. Medmud for $5. VR Nielsen Company sent me a survey with $1 and $5 bills after mailing in. Guess who I'm writing in as favorite TV show and channel?
Man, they've cheaped out. I used to be a Nielsen dude. They'd paid a lot better than that back in the day.
I've gotten the envelopes with the $1 in it before, or whatever it was.
No,
like
they used to do the 5s, and then after you do the survey, they'd send you like a 10 or a 20 or whatever. Like, and it's funny because they send you literal cash.
Yeah,
which is technically illegal, but like, not legal, but they tell you not to do that, right? Like,
right, especially when they show it in the window of the envelope, and it's like there's a $1 bill in here.
How many people go running around stealing everybody's Nielsen things when that happens? Yeah,
exactly. I love turtles, says the mom. Thank you very much.
Oh, he wants to.
I like turtles.
That's what he was looking for. Nightwalker Medicine gifted a Valiant Renegade channel membership. Thank you, Nightwalker Medicine. And William Thompson says, I'm available for the panel. He always is available for the panel. He was on the panel Friday night, as a matter of fact. Tell you what, let me bring this in. We need a little break here. Let's just go ahead and do this. That's literally how it happened. I'm just letting everybody know. That's actually what happened. We had that footage. So just wanted to share it with everybody. There was a couple other things here. I don't know if this is going to be germane to some of our stories that we're going to go through. And matter of fact, I might want to pull some of these up real quick right now while I'm working on this, because we're going to have to talk about some of the Paramount stuff out there, obviously. And there's so many reactions. I have saved too many news stories this weekend. Like this one. This is too good. I guess we'll just throw that one out there for everybody's own edification. So, but there's more to it than that. John says for 5, wasn't there a TV show like that? Like the 250th person in Congress was the sole survivor of a terror attack and became president.
I kind of remember something like that. Yeah.
There was a movie, wasn't it? It was I know the one you're talking about. The name of it's on the tip of my tongue.
Well, I think there was a different show. I think the movie you're talking about was. It was a show.
Designated Survivor, was it something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember the title, but like, yeah, he was like just your average kind of Joe dumbass guy, and like, yeah.
Yeah. He was the undersecretary of lighting or something. It was something stupid.
Yeah, Designated Survivor, that's what they're saying. Yep.
Okay. That was it. What's more dead, Khomeini, Doctor Who, or Star Wars? Khomeini's pretty dead. But the difference is with Khomeini is that even though they're wrong, well, no, it's the same thing. The bad guys will still have fond memories of him. Same thing with Disney Star Wars. Shit.
Let's put it this way. Doctor Who is in bad enough shape that I couldn't believe this. Do you remember in the 90s when they tried to do an American Doctor Who on Fox?
No.
It was a TV movie pilot. Yeah. But yeah, things are so bad over there. They used to ignore that and pretend that didn't exist half the time. They're actually putting it out on 4K Blu-ray. That's how bad things are for Doctor Who, that they're actually acknowledging some of the lower points in the franchise to this point by putting that out. To me, that was just kind of like, interesting.
I don't know.
So for those who don't know, at one point they tried to do an Americanized version of that. It was on Fox, yes.
Ayatollah Khomeini will not appear in Avengers Doomsday, by the way. Will not appear.
You think? You're not sure yet, though, are you?
I could be wrong.
They might have shot his footage before he died.
That's true. I don't think I'll ever enjoy life, says Daniel, because all it does is take whatever is good. I'm not into concerts or sports, and I'm not that social. I need movie theaters, but now they're facing extinction.
Oh, Daniel, it's not that bad. I get where you're coming from, brother, but...
No, movie theaters aren't going anywhere anytime soon. We might have a different conversation 10 years from now or something like that. It ain't happening today. This whole idea that, oh my God, we're all going to die, the theaters are shutting down, there's not going to be any left the next year. That's just not... Paramount did not go through all of this to just burn it all to the ground. I mean, they have revenue and EBITDA metrics that they have to hit, and they're gonna obviously have to rely on one of the key sources of that was for Warner Brothers, and that's theatrical releases. None of that's really going to change. Remember, Ellison has only been there since August. He's done almost literally nothing yet. 6 months at this scale is squat, and it's actually, I guess right at 6 months now out of February. So, I know there's a lot of doom and gloom out there. We'll talk about it. But look, again, would I rather Warner Brothers stay Warner Brothers? Sure. But that just wasn't going to happen.
Now, there could be a side to this where that might be the one side of Paramount, the deal that does save it. But again, there's a lot of what ifs and a lot of oh boy. Because coming into this, I know you were talking about it a little bit before you brought me in. And I'm kind of more in the camp of, I feel it would have been a better deal going with Netflix. Now, I'm not happy either way, but I just feel that there's a lot of points that, despite if you get through like the whiny bullshit of people on the left and the Hollywood elite, there is some actual good points made here. Because let me put it to you this way. Paramount has not released 15 movies in I don't know how many years. They are one of these lower end of the high end studios out there. They do not pump out the amount of material that the other studios do.
That's true.
And them buying Warner Brothers is going to just conglomerate things the way that Disney buying Fox did. There's a lot of people that are rightfully worried they're probably going to lose their jobs because there wouldn't be as much crossover when it comes to Netflix with Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers would probably function mostly the same underneath Netflix. Underneath Paramount, you're not going to have a need for two people doing the same jobs. It's just, so whoever's the better of the two people is going to keep their jobs. That's just the way it's going to work, unless there's contracts in place that trump that. Because at this point, there's no reason to have two of everything lying around. They're just not going to do it. It's not economical, and it's just going to streamline everything. And a big reason why I feel like Ellison wanted Warner Brothers, and you may have a thing or two to say about this, is I feel like they're going to try and hide a lot of the problems that Paramount has, because they are in a lot worse shape than a lot of people think they are. And David Ellison buying them at this time, and I've said it before, is he is part of the reason they're as worthless as they are, because he is one of the heads of Skydance, and Skydance produced 80% of their output in the last 20 years and made one of the biggest, most profitable studios worth jack shit. Because their only hits they've had in the last few years, if it wasn't a Taylor Sheridan show, was your random Top Gun 2 and shit like that. Paramount has been drowning, while Warner Brothers has been just kicking ass in the last few years, and that's the only reason David Ellison wants them, because they're the number one kid on the block. And that's why why Netflix was going after Warner too. But at that point, they're like, this is not worth it to us anymore. We'll just go buy another studio, right? Like, that's where they're at right now, because they're not as concerned about the same shit that Ellison is. I don't think this is going to be the great deal that everybody thinks it is. It might help the theaters out a little bit. It might be good for physical media, and that's a big deal to me, and that does matter. But I'm not so sure that Ellison's going to hold to this 45-day window any more than, anybody else is.
No, nobody's sure about anything. That's the point.
Yeah,
right.
See, that's the thing, because I wouldn't be surprised if Scream falls off a cliff. It'll be on streaming in 36 days.
Well, we'll see. The point is that we're early in the game. I mean, David Ellison hasn't been running the day-to-day of Skydance for 20 years.
No, that's true. That is true.
And this is the thing, is that we don't know what a lot of this is going to look like yet. And just as much as I'm not going to sit here and say Paramount under the Ellisons will become the biggest, boldest studio that ever was, I have no idea. I'm also not going to say it's going to fall apart tomorrow. All I'm saying is there's not a whole lot that we know right now, apart from when it comes to... He's
definitely the devil we don't know, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's apart from Paramount is still primarily a film and television production studio. And by film, I do mean theatrical release film. Netflix could have just, and that was the big concern, was that the problem with Netflix was that they had an open history of being antagonistic, verbally, publicly, towards theatrical. Paramount didn't, right? Now, that could flip on its head. Maybe Ted Sarandos meant every single word that he said, or that he completely 180 and pivoted 3 months ago by saying all of a sudden, yeah, we'll honor theatrical. Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah, we'll give it 45
because I'm not
days.
convinced that Netflix is turning down the theatrical game. I think they're actually turning towards it, because I think they've been starting to see the money that's there.
I think if Netflix could spend a few years proving that to the industry, because that's the big thing, is proving it to the industry and proving it to the market, then this might have been a different story this week. But the problem is that they haven't done that yet, and it's going to take them several years to get there, because ostensibly, basically everything they have greenlit right now is going to be for streaming only. There are those rare models they have with guys like Guillermo del Toro, where they say, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll put Frankenstein into theaters. We'll put them in 2 theaters in Los Angeles, 2 theaters in San Francisco, and a couple in Manhattan, and that's it. Get you Oscar eligible, but apart from that, you're not getting anything else. There's no big, giant global P&A spend. We're not going to 3,000 screens. We're just going to do it to get you Oscar eligible. Because as Sarandos and company have said so many times for so many years, and again, the guy that covers the Netflix earnings calls right here, they don't see the value. They've never seen the value. They've been asked on earnings calls multiple times, about theatrical releases, and they said many times they don't see the use of it. They don't see the value there. They're getting more value. Their members is what they call their subscribers. People want to watch it from home. We don't want to go into this. Now, as Sarandos has said during this whole thing, they have pivoted on things in the past. They said that, years ago when advertisers asked them about, when analysts, Wall Street analysts on earnings calls,
Shit, did we lose him again, or was it me? Boy. Stupid internet. Hello? Him again. The Valiant Renegade Show has been brought to you by my sanity. Yeah, I'm not totally sure where he was going with that. Other than, Serranos has in the past famously said one thing and then they do another. So I don't know if that's where you were going with that, but
yeah. Hey, sorry. I just keep every time it does that, I just refresh the Chrome tab and it comes right back. It's got to be. It's got to be
StreamYards. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's totally broken. That done sucks. So anyway, what I was saying was that they were asked, and I don't know exactly where I got cut out, but they've been asked for years about issues like advertising. They didn't want to do an advertising-based tier on Netflix. They did eventually pivot on that because somebody actually showed them the money, right? And then they realized we need to do this. And it wasn't an accident that Netflix decided to coincide the launch of their ad-based tier, their cheaper advertising tier, when they started doing the password crackdown, because they wanted to give the people who were, the 25-year-olds who were still piggybacking off of mom and dad's account, for example, that were living, 200 miles away or something, and to give them a chance to say, hey, look, you can get Netflix for $7 a month. You're going to have ads, and look what's happened. They've gone from nothing in 2024 to $1.5 billion in advertising revenue in 2025, and projecting at least $3 billion in advertising revenue in 2026. They're going to be taking out the Walt Disney Company probably when it comes to advertising in the next 3 to 5 years, in terms of being the king dick. So there's that. And then, advertising, cheaper tiers, live events. Netflix didn't want to do live stuff. Then they got a taste for it. They experimented with it, realized, nope, this is good. People are engaging with this. Bring them in. So could that happen with theatrical? Yes, but the problem is that Netflix is so tepid with it. See, like with advertising, they can turn on a tier, offer another tier, they see what happens. With theatrical, this is a commitment they have to make years in advance. This is where the issue with Netflix is. They've got to make a commitment years in advance to greenlight something that is going to be given a full bird theatrical release. Then they also have to commit to putting the full marketing power behind it. And it's funny to me because Sarandos even mentioned in recent interviews and the earnings call that, hey, we don't have to advertise like a lot of traditional studios do, because the people that are going to go watch something wherever we put it, and in this case, be it theaters, they're watching Netflix already. We can advertise to them right there in a very cheap and cost-effective manner through Netflix to go see the movie, because they're already here. We don't have to necessarily spend $100 to $150 million on a big production to do global prints and ads where we're buying television commercials and scores of Google and YouTube ads all over the globe. They still have to spend some of that, right? But maybe instead of having to spend $100 million, maybe they only need to spend $40 to $50 million to get the same effect because of the power they have in net. But until they do that a couple of times and they see what really happens, because right now it's like, okay, We'll throw K-pop Demon Hunters in the
You've
theater.
had K-pop, you've had
6
Stranger
months
Things.
after. Yeah, but they didn't. They only did that for a couple of days. They really didn't. Do
I know,
much with
but
it.
my point is like they're not doing it for no good reason, right? They're testing the market. They're buying
Right.
theaters. Ellison, he already knows what the market's like as far as this kind of stuff. Serranos is still learning a lot of things as he goes. I get that, and sooner or later they're going to discover what we've always known, and that is just like we've known in the video industry. Even if it's a flop, a movie in the theater is worth a hell of a lot more than if it goes straight to video. Yep. Which now the basic same thing is straight to streaming, right? Now look at a movie like Happy Gilmore we brought up. Like I think it was here on this show where we did the rough fuzzy math and we were very conservative about it, and we still figured that movie probably would have opened to somewhere in the $150 to $175 million weekend. Mm-hmm. For a comedy, that's nothing to sneeze at, and that was going at like half of the viewers that Netflix said that they had. And considering those are families and stuff, we even were more conservative, right? So we just took that amount, considering we figured like at least half those people wouldn't even go to the theater anyway. But even if just half the people that viewed it, that's the number we saw. So don't think they're not paying attention to these things. And like you said, they don't really even have to advertise a lot of this stuff, because then the theatrical release, regardless of how it turns out, just ends up feeding into the release that goes on Netflix, much like with Red One did for Amazon, and like F1 is going to do for Apple, right? Like these things, they're going to figure that out sooner or later, that this is what's going to gain you subscribers. Because let's be real, that's what makes Netflix a hit. It isn't so much that a lot of people watch it. That's great. That's awesome. But unless they bring in new subscribers or people that haven't been subscribed for a while to see something, then they're not really making anything off of anything. And you know that, and I know that, and that's how this shit works. So let's say, for the sake of argument, K-pop Demon Hunters 2, because isn't the rumor for that one that Sony wants to put that in theaters first now instead of going straight to streaming? Wasn't that the rumor I was hearing?
They'd have to discuss it with Netflix because
but that's the rumor that's going around, is that they want to do it that way. And
I'm sure they do.
I see that as a win-win scenario for both teams in that respect, because that then will give them a nice box office, up front. And then they also have that advertising, which will feed into the Netflix premiere. I mean, you've even had like tons of situations where they've had that already, where the Gabby Dollhouse movie, even though the show is on Netflix, since Universal owns it, they put the movie out in theaters. The movie made money, plus then it went on video on demand, and now it's going to an alternate streamer, which is a competitor, because Peacock wound up with it.
Yeah.
So figure that. Like, the whole show is on Netflix, but now if you want to go see that movie, you got to go see it on Peacock. I don't give a shit because I'm not a kid, but, there's a lot of families where that's probably a pain in the ass to have to deal with. You know what I mean? So...
It's all going to come back together eventually anyway, because cable subscriptions will come back in vogue, because
that's where I'm saying,
they will have all the streaming services packaged in for you, because your cable provider that everybody is, the cord cutting, I think, may be starting to slow down a little bit. I've been telling you, in the next 5 years, I think we're going to see, we're finally going to hit the trough, and we're going to start seeing it climb back the other way, although it's going to look very different, because the key thing is that all these guys have these distribution deals. They're getting all this, like Peacocks and Paramount Pluses, Showtime, HBO, all this kind of stuff, ESPN. Hey, if you're a cable subscriber, you get what are now a dozen different streaming services, minus Netflix, of course, for free as part of your cable subscription, because you're already paying for these channels. It's only a matter of time, because these are the same guys that are providing you the internet service connection.
Well, there's that. There's
the streaming services.
The other side of it, I predicted, is that it's only a matter of time before you get signed into an actual contract with Netflix and Amazon and all that. That's the next step, right? Because that's where the only thing that's missing from cable is, because that's how cable had you locked in for so long. And I've seen it a million times and dealt with it myself, where it's like you want to move a cable company or change your package or change a cable company. There's even that famous South Park episode from 20 years ago where it made the whole, where the guy's rubbing his nipples and stuff because they wanted to cancel their cable or whatever. Because, you're stuck into a contract. Unless you buy yourself out of that contract, you're stuck. And that's what I think is the next step for a lot of these streamers is, the only way you're going to be able to get Netflix and Amazon and Disney Plus and all this other stuff is if you sign on for a year, 2-year, 5-year contract.
If you want to do a rate lock, which I could see that happening, but here's the thing.
It's going to happen, and then otherwise you're going to be paying $30, $40, $50 a month probably otherwise,
The reason why the proposition for streamers to be able to pull that off successfully on a grand scale is a lot less is because what you're talking about with the cable companies you had to deal with, and this was the lock-in, you had the physical infrastructure in your house. You had to have somebody come out and install, especially in the beginning, a physical cable and run it to your TV sets. You had to have a physical box. You had to have a device, a piece of equipment to make the system work, right? You had to have all this stuff. There's no stuff anymore. You can sign up from an iPhone for a streaming service and just watch it and then cancel it. There's no proprietary device that Netflix has to send you or that Disney has to send you to get in on that. So I don't
No, but you're right. You do have to have the internet, and you do have to generally have something to be able to stream it with.
That's why the
TV.
That's why the ISPs like the Comcasts and the Spectrums and all these guys.
Well, and make no mistake, that's where they're not
going
to want to lose out. They're going to want to make their deals with this shit. Trust me, they're going to want to be the middleman in this whole fucking thing. Pardon my French, but like,
they will be. They will be because they're delivering the internet. So somebody's going to start making deals with them on this kind of stuff where, hey, you're going to get an internet and TV package once again. Sign up for Charter Internet. You're going to get 1 gigabyte upload and download speeds. It's going to be $100 a month. And with your $100 a month, you're also going to get subscriptions to Peacock, to Paramount Plus, HBO Max, Disney Plus, ES. I mean, eventually that's where it's going to go.
You're still going off of this, laboring off this idea that cable's going to last that long. See, here's the thing is I'm going under the idea that within our lifetime, Valiant, cable will be dead. There will be no more cable networks. There will be no more, like maybe CBS, NBC, and Fox and stuff like that will live on for another 20 years, maybe. But that's a big friggin' maybe. These are all because this is where they're eventually going to learn the biggest mistake of the whole streaming wars very soon, which you and I and Andre and all have been preaching about for years. And that is, instead of making this a thing where you think it's going to be the hub of your movies and shit, you'll soon realize that this was just going to replace television, which that's all it is.
That's all streaming is. No, that's the point.
All it is. So at some point, somewhere down the line here in the next 15, 20 years, somebody's going to realize this and it's all going to flip over and there will be no more television broadcasts. It'll all be online streaming stuff because it already is, basically.
That's what I'm saying. Is the streaming services are just a reflection of what they have on their linear broadcast, by and large. They'll put some proprietary stuff, but the reason I say that I'm not saying the cable's going to survive is in this. The companies that deliver it right now, the bigger ones, are not going anywhere. Comcast and Spectrum and all, because these are the ones principally involved in delivering you the internet service to get these subscriptions. So even though they might not have a cable subscription per se anymore, it's going to be packaged in with your internet. It's nobody, even for the people that still have.
I agree with,
even for the people that still have, a cable subscription like I did up until a year or two ago, because I'm like, it's got all the stuff on it, and then I get the streaming packages with it. Why not? Who cares? The thing is, I didn't have a cable box. You just have an app. You have an app on your Apple TV or an app on your Fire Stick or whatever, and you just watch it there. So that's my point: is the ISPs, the internet service providers, which are also currently delivering traditional cable. Many of them, if not all of them, or I should say none of them, are delivering that cable subscription through a piece of RG6 anymore, or an RG59 if you really want to go back in the day. But they're not delivering it through a physical cable in the ground anymore. It's coming. They're hooking up the internet to your house if you're a Comcast or Spectrum subscriber, and the television is just put the app on your Apple TV. It's coming right through your internet connection. That's it. Done. It's coming through your freaking modem. It ain't coming through a cable box anymore. So it's already there. The transition's going to happen because that's how the cable companies are going to survive. They're going to package up, hey, if we're not delivering it this way anymore, the big thing is that you've got to get, in order for them to be really competitive, the big thing with the cable subscriptions is all the stupid local government regulations and fees and stuff on there. Like with my Spectrum subscription that I used to have, and I still had one bundled at one of my office locations I just got rid of. They still had on there a $28 surcharge for local channels. Because local regulations. That's the kind of stuff that needs to go. When you get the government out of there and all the local government fees and taxes, cable's extremely competitive. Extremely competitive. That's what's, and they have the power to coalesce everything. Pros here, what's up, dude?
What's up, guys? Happy to be here. Happy to be here. You know, I think they threw cable into me for almost free. I got the internet and all that stuff, and they said, "Hey, you want some cable? Here, $10. We'll give it to you." I said, "Okay."
Yeah, why not take it for while you can?
It's because it's worthless now. Yeah,
That's exactly right. That's what
because they have literally traded in dollars for pennies when it comes to television, while trying to destroy theaters in the process. There's never been a better example of shooting yourself in the foot while chopping off your other one than I've ever seen in my entire life, than what the film and television industry has done to themselves in the last 20 years with this streaming bullshit.
Oh yeah,
you have really just like, are you that idiotic?
Yes,
they threw away all the redundant. They had redundancies, right? So you had theatrical, then you had DVD, then you had it came on
cable.
television, then you had the special editions. It's all gone. Just streaming now.
We have said it in the past too. They've taken what used to be anywhere between 4 and maybe 6 different revenue streams and lifespan for a movie or television show.
Oh yeah,
was way beyond. Like now, a movie's worthless after about a year. A movie used to have like a 5-year lifespan. Hell, a television show would have anywhere from a 10 to 15 to 20-year lifespan.
Oh yeah,
because because of the amount of times you could resell it and package it into syndication. And the same thing for movies, because it would be like you said, the theatrical. Then you'd have even the secondary theatrical runs. People forget about that. Then you had your home video and PVOD. Then you had cable, which would be HBO or Showtime or what have you. Then you would have your network premiere, and that was a nice big fat payday for the studios on those. Let me tell you what. And then from there, you would get your syndicated reviews, and then you would also have your resale on video if it wasn't a sell-through video to begin with. So there was tons of lifespans for a film or television show back in the day that they're all putting into one little place, and you're literally making pennies to the dollars you used to make. And this is why I compare it to the music industry, because they did the same exact thing. They panicked when it came to the next Napster thing, and instead of actually doing what they should have done, they did the same thing that the movie industry is doing now. And guess what? There's only 3 companies that own all of the music, and nobody in the music industry makes anything anymore unless you own the rights to music. That's the only people who are making any money anywhere. That's why you can't get any new artists that come out anymore. That's why, you don't buy albums anymore, or music is like a part of our, joint society. Like, name one song that you've heard in the last year that everybody in this room would have heard. Exactly.
I don't listen.
10 years ago, 20 years ago, whoop, there it is. Everybody heard it.
Oh,
right?
Come on, Tom. You're listening to Sabrina Carpenter every day. We know what you're doing. You're a closet Carpenter
She's
fan.
about the only one. There you go. Sabrina Carpenter is probably one of the youngest, most prolific artists that you just thought, and that's about all you could probably pull out of your pants right there.
I had
right?
a Sabrina Carpenter song pop up in my title feed the other day, just to like random
and that's a rare
stuff.
occurrence.
And it popped up, and I was like, 5 seconds in, skip.
Yep.
Good.
Even Bruno Mars, who's somebody who's probably quote-unquote new and popular, he's been around for 15, 20 years already. Taylor Swift, same thing, been around for 20 years. They're not creating new anything, and it's going to be the same with movies and television before too long, because they can't get an audience like they used to, and the proof is in the pudding when they're sitting there acting like 2 to 4 million viewers is a hit TV show, when that used to get shows canceled overnight.
Yeah, no, it's trash. It's like everything on Disney Plus. That's why Warner Brothers was bragging about 27 million average per week for Welcome to Derry, which I thought was pretty good, but not.
That was what
awesome.
friggin' Big Bang Theory used to bring in on average, basically.
Yep. Cody Labs for $50. It's 2026, and Francisco Franco is still dead, and so is the Ayatollah. Yeah, he is. I'm playing this.
Nice SNL joke there, my friend.
We just bombed Iran, dropped hellfire on their head, pulled my trigger, now they're dead. MAGA, the perfect strike had just begun. White generals clean, coming ain't gone, we won. MAGA. Strike first thing tomorrow. Carry on, 'cause it actually really matters.
let me tell you, boys, this was an incredible, beautiful strike. The greatest military operation in the history of the world.
How about that? I liked it.
You know, whatever you think about the strikes and what's going to happen, and I know we've got people who are thinking, no, it's the Iraq War all over again. You know, I don't want to weigh in on that. It's not my job. It's not my lane. But I'll tell you this. Miss Rachel probably shouldn't either, because some picture and some claim came out from Iran, which, you know, it's a little dubious. And Miss Rachel, whose job is to say, that's right, good job, to 3-year-olds on YouTube, she decided to weigh in and really give her full dissertation as to what's going on in Iran. And I thought, of all the people in the world that I'm going to listen to figure out what's going on in Iran, probably not the woman who wears a pink shirt and overalls and says, oh my gosh, you're so smart.
Is this right after she had the snafu of liking the anti-Semitic tweet or whatever?
She's back again, Tom.
Oh my God,
she
what a
can't
moron.
stop. She can't
What a
stop.
moron.
Yeah. Well, I shared my opinions already, so y'all know where I stand. I don't give a damn. I'm glad he's dead, and I hope they get more of them. So simple as that. You know, the 22 Pakistanis that the Marines shot when they tried to invade the consulate over there and attack and kill the Marines should have been more. Sorry, it was U.S. Marines. You're lucky it was only 22. Enjoy hell. Well,
I can tell you that the leadership in Iran was evil. They're mostly dead. And I hope that the result of this is a moderate and more free Iran. And we'll see how this plays out. The
displaced Shah or the prince, I mean, the younger one, well, younger, he's now like 50, 60 years old, was on Fox News today. Live. Yeah. You know, saying, looking forward to maybe going back.
Oh, you're talking about the guy in exile?
Yeah, the former. Yeah, or his son, I think, the former prince. And like we were telling people earlier, for people that don't know, I mean, Iran was a very cosmopolitan, kind of hip, almost dare I say, westernized world back in the 1970s. It looked like if Iran in 2026 was still run by the leadership before the psycho killers came and took it over in 79, it would look like Dubai does today. That's what Tehran and Iran would have been Dubai. And they're not, because they got taken over by Islamic terrorist psychopaths. Now they're going, I'm sorry, you just can't spend 40 years threatening to kill Americans and men of the West while at the same time efforting to make all of the weapons to actually carry out your threats that you've been making for 40 years, while multiple administrations, probably 4 or 5 of them before Donald Trump, red line, we're not going to have this, so-and-so, this will never happen, blah, blah, blah. Fine, Trump finally did something about it. I don't care. We didn't need Congress's approval, I'm sorry to tell everybody, because Iran had already declared war on us.
A few years ago,
Hamilton kind of made this clear about how it works. Is that you don't, if you got a foreign country that's already declaring war in the United States, killing your troops, really don't need Congress involved. I hate to tell you.
If we're real lucky, North Korea just got the message.
Hopefully a lot of people just got the message.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And by the way, congratulations to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer for finding at least one of his small nuts today.
I saw that. I saw that. Well, talk about being uncomfortable. A man who just witnessed the power of a true, historic event, and he sat on the sidelines the whole time with a completely different idea of how the world's going to run, and he just learned, no, that's not how it's going to be. Let me go out and pretend that I am acting importantly.
Yep, this guy right here.
Beta of betas, somehow at the top of the UK.
Yep, somehow. Well, we all know how. It's probably similar to 2020 in the U.S.
Are they arresting people with Tourette's over there yet? I figure that's what the UK will do.
I don't know, but they will not arrest you if you are assaulting British young girls, but by God, if you insult the people who are assaulting British girls, you will
Don't do
go
it.
to jail.
Get off that Facebook. They'll come for you. Paddy wagon on the way.
Big time. All right. I wanted to swing into some of the reactions here from some of the folks out there. Some of this, I have to, since we're on the topic, this is one of the best. I'm sorry. This was so great. I have just been informed that we have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval ships, says President Trump. Some of them relatively large and important. We're going after the rest. They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea. Also, in a different attack, we largely destroyed their naval headquarters. Other than that, their navy is doing very well. President Trump.
You know? There is nobody that tweets with quite that kind of testosterone.
Oh God, it's so good. Okay, I'm gonna share this one too. To hell with it. Breaking: Lane Kiffin is leaving LSU as head football coach to become the new Ayatollah of Iran. I will forever cherish my 3 months in Baton Rouge, but becoming supreme leader is my next. If you're a college football fan and you understand Lane Kiffin jokes, you should be pissing yourself laughing at this right now.
He likes to hop around.
This is why I said I was not happy when Lane Kiffin was coming here. I don't like Lane Kiffin. I thought that was really, really funny. So
he's going to have to fight Marco Rubio for the job, I hear.
It's going to be fun. So any case, I want to get down to some of this stuff here that was coming out. So we're talking about the Paramount thing. And this is this is so good. And this is like, it's Christmas. It's like it's Christmas this whole week. But this is some of the layoffs that I think people are concerned with, which if it's relegated to just CNN, I'm good. Enjoy it.
Did you see Brian Stelter? Did you see his take on this?
Yeah, I think I have it.
Oh my gosh. Brian Stelter goes on for minutes talking about how, well, the Ellisons say they want media that's truthful, and 70% of everybody agrees with it. That sounds like CNN to me. I'm like, yeah, if it did, you wouldn't be doing this segment.
No, exactly. Catching up real quick, we had some StreamYard issues earlier. We'll probably have it again because StreamYard sucks. Raxus for 2, you're in charge now, Tom.
All turtles all the time.
There you go. Crouching Taylor, Hidden Swift for 5. Need the profit margin on the Elvis concert film and the Oscar-nominated film events, animated in shorts, and the Olympic Theater simulcasts.
Well, there's a one for the money.
He's always got
that supposedly was pretty good. That Elvis footage that of the concert that Baz Luhrmann uncovered for that release. I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah.
No, I had
It's
not.
an Elvis concert that's never seen the light of day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
William Thompson for 5, goofing off. I was being serious. Not once did I crack a joke.
I have a hard time believing that from William. He's a funny guy.
I did crack as a joke once.
How'd it go for you, Tom?
We're talking about something I said earlier about the member show. It must have been. It must have been something about the member show I said. I don't know. I was going through these fast. Thank you, William Thompson. Appreciate the fiber, man. John Maynard says he may come back as a zombie like Osama in Osambi. He may come back as a zombie like Osama in Osam. Was there
Osambi.
I guess there was a something. I guess there was a movie somewhere somebody spoofed on.
Sounds like a movie Charlie Band would have made, yeah.
EHF for $5. There's talks of the Saudis, Qatar, and UAE sending in ground troops. They don't practice restraint or combat rules like we do. The IRGC won't survive. No.
The craziest thing in all of this, other than just how well the Americans have, the American military has been insane in its precision and power, doing things that I don't think anybody thought was possible, but here they go. What has been wild, though, is watching Iran indiscriminately. And I don't know if it's because their missiles are so bad or their response was so poorly coordinated or their leadership's decimated, whatever the case is, indiscriminately attacking their neighbors who don't want anything to do with this. And suddenly their neighbors are like, yeah, we're going to, that's it. I mean, I don't know, Valiant, if you saw, and it's really tough too, because you got to research all this stuff now. Because you see a video, you can't believe it. So you got to go, sorry, Miss Rachel, I know that's going to be surprising to you. Oh, that's That's so sad. I know, Miss Rachel. But you see a video of a drone or a missile going towards Abu Dhabi, and you don't know if it's real. But I checked this out, and it seems to be, Abu Dhabi, they're not going to be real happy when missiles are coming towards their very big buildings and maybe the future home of Disney in the Middle East. They don't like it when you fire missiles at them. And so all these countries are going to have a real interesting response.
There was a hotel, I believe, that got struck in Dubai.
Yeah.
So,
How do you children feel like we should respond to genocide? Drop a bomb on them and brush them off. Drop a bomb on them and brush them off.
That's
Drop
not Miss
a bomb
Rachel.
on... Wait, what?
Is this Reading Rainbow?
Screw the Jews. What?
LeVar, get out of here.
no, there it is. No,
Reading Rainbow.
the issue is always the same, right? They've messed around, and the problem is that especially the left wing mainstream media in the West, especially America, for years has just straight up lied because they do know better. They just don't tell you this because again they don't want to inform the American public. They want to manipulate the American public. Most of the Islamic nations, not named Iran, hate Iran and want them dead. That's been the case for since the 80s, when the terrorist regime took over Iran. Even the other Islamic nations out there that didn't really care for the United States also weren't big fans of Iran because they were crazy. It's kind of like the same thing. Like for years, it's been known the rest of the Islamic world out there, they don't like Palestinians. They don't care about any of that shit.
They don't want that mess in it. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want that there. And the proof's in the pudding is they don't take them in. They don't take them in Jordan and in all this other kind of place. They don't take them in Iraq. They don't take them in majority Muslim countries. No. They're a foil because, hey, we can, for the countries that want to play this game, they think this is the way to get one over on the United States. So it's people have some really, really bizarre, effed up views of what goes on over there, but nothing much has changed in that area of the world in the last, 40 some odd years. Still the same damn thing. It's still a mess. Today, as of this weekend, it's going to be hopefully a lot less of a mess going forward, especially if that, within the next year or two, you can have truly free public elections in Iran and start electing some type of democratic leadership over there that is going to look more like the UAE. I'd much rather see an Iran look like the UAE, like a Dubai or Abu Dhabi, than what Iran has looked like for all these years. Archer Merchant for 5, objectively, I'm curious if there will be a new Paramount movie for Trump when all is said and done. Maybe. I don't know. They could. Sure. The Tennessee tornado for 5, cable will just be bundled streaming services. Exactly. And just like cable, it will be all ads and no entertainment. No more ad-free streaming soon. You
pay enough, they'll get rid of the ads. You pay enough.
Exactly.
There's always a price.
Yeah, you can still sign up for the premium subscriptions from Paramount and Peacock and Netflix and HBO and all that kind of stuff if you want, right? You can do that now. You can take a cheaper price and you can get ads, or you can get no ads. So it's up to you. Peacock, for example, I don't watch Peacock all that often. So I think I still have the base version of Peacock where I'll get ads popping up. Paramount, I was watching a lot of constantly because they have so many good shows on there that I was always engaging with, and their classic library. Same thing with Netflix and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, and I wanted the upgrade. HBO, I paid for the upgrade because when I watch something on HBO, I do want to get the 4K. That's the only thing that kind of ticks me off is that when you do their basic ad-based service on HBO, which I wouldn't mind, they don't deliver anything more than 1080p. It's a lot of them, though. Netflix is the same way.
Netflix is the same way, so...
They've changed.
The only exceptions are like Paramount, Peacock, and Amazon, I think, are the only real exceptions.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe Apple.
Amazon, I probably turn on once and then never. There's nothing on Amazon, so...
I actually use Amazon more, especially because of a hub. Because I've noticed now, like on some of my older like PS4 and other program and other things I've used, where some of the newer apps won't be on there. So I almost have to use Amazon as a hub to be able to get to HBO Max or Paramount Plus or whatever, or at least access that material, because I can't get HBO Max or Paramount Plus on my old whatever it is.
No,
So,
that makes sense. Tennessee Tornado for 5. Cable companies already know bundled streaming is going to be the new cable, which is why they offer streaming boxes with every cable contract. It's going to be, yeah. I mean, if your smart TV doesn't already have it, I mean, the good thing, like I probably have a total of, over the years, maybe 6 Apple TV devices. And the oldest one that's 1080p still works great. You know, I gave it to my oldest daughter to take to college. It's fine. It's a perfectly good Apple TV box.
I think the cable companies are going extinct.
It's got all the apps on it. I mean,
I think they're going. Go ahead.
No, I don't. We were talking about this before. They're not. I don't think they're going extinct. They're going to change, because they are still going to have the ability to deliver all of these streaming services, because all of these cable companies are the same people that are delivering your high-speed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gig internet.
Well, let me tell you. So here's my thesis on why I think why they will go extinct. The reason is because a lot of these towns and cities, they're starting through their utility companies to provide the fiber optic lines instead of the cable companies. And those fiber optic lines can go as fast as you could ever imagine. And so I don't think cable can keep up with that. The other thing is, if you're not going to do the fiber optics that are going to be offered all over the country through your utilities, then Starlink, I think, becomes the second option. And I think Starlink's only going to get better and better and better, and you can take Starlink with you wherever you go. So
Starlink's got a ways to go because the speeds are just frankly still too low.
Oh, sure, but like 5-6 years down the road, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to extinct tomorrow. I'm just saying there's a timeline on this. I just don't know what the cable companies can offer anymore if fiber optics and Starlink push them out the door.
They're going to shift, and they're going to have their own satellite offerings here in the not too distant future. The bigger ones will, and that's going to be the difference. The problem with cable companies is that they are, and this was what I was saying before. The biggest problem with them is the government regulations, right? Comcast can only operate in a certain geographic area by government regulation. So too can Spectrum Charter and every other cable company out there. But then you have the guys like Starlink or DirecTV, for example, where it's not landlocked because it's not delivered by physical infrastructure. So this is why you see Comcast more recently has gone into things like cellular, mobile devices. Their next big thing, I promise you, in the next few years is going to be satellite delivery for internet or something like this. Because they've got the scale. So does Charter Spectrum. That's where it's going to shift, because they're not just going to let, Starlink or Space Mobile and some other guys just run away with it out of hat. They're going to get more competitive. They're going to have to get more competitive with it. And even they are, hey, look, we're laying down fiber optics. But again, they can only do it in the geographic area that they're allowed to. And that's the problem. Once government gets off their throats, once government doesn't have $10, $15, $20 of bullshit fees and taxes on everybody's cable bill, the prices become more competitive still. And again, now that we have so many different streaming services out there, look, picking up something like YouTube TV or Hulu with Live TV or DirecTV, and again, I'm talking about national delivery. That's why it's just easier and cleaner. You don't have all the local government fees and taxes on it. Frankly, I find it to be incredibly anti-competitive, because it's not like it was 20 or 30 years ago, where the only way to get, especially before the proliferation of DirecTV and like Dish Network, but go back 30 years, and you had to either put up a set of rabbit ears, an antenna on your roof, or you had to have a piece of RG6 or RG59 piped into your house to get cable service, because it came through on a physical cable. You don't have to do that anymore, but the government is still regulating these companies as though it is.
Right. Well, I mean, the government's the octogenarian club.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem.
Mitch McConnell's going to fix that any day now, Valiant.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm honestly, if you told me that the Ayatollah would have dropped dead before Mitch McConnell, I'd have said you were full of shit. I was wrong.
So you think Mitch is still alive? I've got questions every time I see him wheeled around there.
No, I don't. God, I think Mitch McConnell is as alive as Joe Biden.
That the moniker that was given to him, the turtle, because of his neck. It's not pleasant to call him that anymore because now I think, it's pretty on the money. I'd rather have a pet turtle in that role at this point. I think it would have more facility, more faculty.
Oh, you ain't kidding. Wonko gifted 5 Valiant Renegade channel memberships. Thank you, Wonko. Much appreciated, brother. And then let me do one more here. Packing Protons, where is Chevy Chase when we need him? Francisco Franco. Speaking of SNL references like before. Okay. There was a couple of things. I guess let me just go to this one because I know I'm not going to have time to get to all these things tonight because I think I've got to go pick up Renegade Jr. here in a bit. Unless I'm hoping my other kid went to go get him. CNN staff threatening to quit if Donald Trump ally Larry Ellison buys Warner Brothers, which owns CNN. No one wants to work for the Ellisons, that person said. And if Barry Weiss is going to be running CNN, expect people to leave.
And Barry said,
cool.
Yeah, that's going to happen one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, and what's the problem with this? I don't. And?
Well,
Right.
and they're also assuming a lot too here. Like they're ignoring a lot of things. First of all, Donald Trump said, if they're my friends, then I'd hate to see my enemies, because he claimed that CBS News and 60 Minutes specifically have treated him worse since the Ellisons have taken over.
That was
Not
I
only
think that was
during the whole. Go ahead.
I think that was a political hip check. You know, in basketball, sometimes you give a little hip check to say, hey, watch it. I think that happens in politics too.
Yep. And to that end, I mean, apart from the rest of it, I'm going to get to a couple of these here before we close because this is too good. Sarandos did this interview with Bloomberg, I believe, and some of the things that were brought up in the interview, and Bloomberg's behind a hard paywall, even if you've got Apple News, which kind of sucks. And I'm not giving Bloomberg an extra $10 a month. I don't care that much. But here's the key points going back to the deal that happened earlier this week. Because everybody was asking, man, that went quick, right? Yeah, it went quick. And we talked about this before. They knew what they were going to do before it happened. They had already, Netflix had so much time to strategize for every possible contingency. Whatever proposal Paramount came forward with, they already knew where their breakpoints were. Ted Sarandos, according to this, knew that they dropped the deal quickly if Paramount was accepted as the superior offer. We had done all of the scenario planning, said Sarandos, so we didn't have to go back to the board. We knew what we wanted to do. We'll take the $2.8 billion to invest. We're unlikely to go after another studio in the next 6 to 12 months. We're not worried that Paramount Warner Brothers will stop licensing to Netflix. If they are 6 or 7 times levered, they need to make some money, and we're buyers, so I can't imagine that's going to be a problem. Exactly. And on adopting theater, Sarando suggests there could be more done beyond stunt releases. I could see us doing things that we haven't done before. And I hope he does change his tune because the theaters need it. And again, I've been applauding the hell out of Bezos and Amazon this year because of their commitment. Again, there's a lot of stuff that Amazon puts out that is garbage. But you know what? If they're going to commit to throwing out 10 or 12 releases in theaters every year, big, small, or otherwise, great. We need more of that. We need new players in the game. So, I mean, that's...
Yeah, but that means that Paramount would, or Skydance basically, would have to pretty much quadruple their output at this point. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think they had 9 the previous year. But again...
Yeah, that ain't shit.
Nothing's... But again, let's see what they do. It's going to take them a couple of years to ramp up to that because... I think during the earnings call, Ellison gave a list of some of the stuff they've greenlit since they came in August, and they're starting to ramp up the production pipeline.
Right. We still have to see what Ellison is going to do with Skydance. Don't get me wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, look, for people like, I don't want people going, oh, 2026 came and went and Paramount only put out 12 things. Okay, hang on. Because, like, these things take, it takes a couple of years to gestate, greenlight, gestate, produce, put it in theaters.
And that's fair. But my whole thing with this is like, I'm reminded of a quote Will Smith said that his dad said to him when he made his first $1 million and he bought a bunch of cars. He said, boy, you only got one butt. What you need so many cars for? It's like, at this point, I can't believe that Ellison's daddy didn't say, let's just see how well you run this car before you get another one to run into the ground.
Okay, well, my point is with that, I think you're right, but that's why I'm like, look, this kind of decision wasn't made in a vacuum by either David or Larry,
absolutely
obviously.
not.
So they obviously have something very specific in mind. They have a game plan. And of course, since August, they haven't let on because they immediately turned around and started looking at Warner Brothers. So nobody's tipping their hat. Now that this deal is 50% done, because the other half is getting through regulatory environment. And look, Paramount seems to think that they're pretty confident they might be able to get it done by September 30th. And if not, and it takes an extra 3 to 6 months, hey, Warner Brothers shareholders are going to walk away with an extra quarter, if not 50 cents per share. And it'll keep going the longer it takes. If it doesn't work out at all, and people are acting like, and I said this the other night, people are acting like David Zaslav comments about, hey, if it doesn't work, we get $7 billion and we just get right back to work. People are acting like, oh my God, I can't believe this is so nefarious. I'm like, well, what else
do you expect him to do?
Right? Of course, that's what he says. Of course you do that. I mean, it's like, it's common sense. Like we're talking about like, oh my God, we woke up and realized that that the sky was blue and we're all freaking out over it. No, of course, Zaslav's attitude is, what have we got to lose? We'll be happy to take the money. If it doesn't work out, we get $7 billion. That's what David Zaslav was hired to do, y'all.
He got it to 30.
If anything,
he has done everything that AT&T put him in there for.
Exactly.
Everything and then some.
And this is what we were saying about a couple months back when this first all kicked off, was like, this has nothing to do with David Ellison. David Ellison didn't come out and say, hey, by the way, folks, Warner Brothers for sale. We're having a sale. Come on down and tell us what you want to give it. No, Ellison was the one who started this. Okay, He came in and just decided he was going to slap an offer down on the table. And if anything, Zaslav had this as part of the plan, most likely, but his plan was probably to come into effect in the next 5 years. It wasn't like tomorrow. Like, he was just starting to make inroads as far as like, we've been saying them being, downgraded to junk bonds and all this other shit that has happened to Warner Brothers in the last few years. He has rose above all that adversary. He's rose above all that, managed to make the company worthwhile. They've done nothing but bring out hits, going back to Minecraft, Sinners, everything, even including Superman. Say what you will about it. It still managed to make its money back for the most part, if not even make a small profit. And it didn't matter because everything else was doing so well around it that it didn't have to make $1 billion. At the end of the day, Warner Brothers is the only studio that's consistently making money. Yes, technically Disney maybe did have the bigger box office returns as of last year, but they only had 3 movies as opposed to the 24 that we could mention of Warner Brothers in the last few years that have actually been hits. And we're going back to stuff like Dune and all the Godzilla stuff they've done, all this stuff. They've had nothing but hit after hit after hit after hit. Right? Yep. So at the end of the day, that's what this boils down to, is that it wouldn't matter if these sales would have went off either way, because Ellison kicking off the sale, all it did was make the stock of Warner Brothers go up and up and up and up. So all Zaslav had to do was just sit back and watch it rise. Yep. Because as the longer that happened, the more it's getting back to normal. See, that's the sad part, is it shouldn't even have been that low to begin with. And that's where I'm even saying some of these, Ellison is still technically getting Warner Brothers for a steal. It should be a little bit more probably, because let's not forget how big Warner Brothers is. This isn't Fox.
He still may wind up paying an extra 25 or 50 cents if he can't get things done in time.
Yeah, because this is a much bigger company than Fox is by far. Even though Fox had a network and cable stations, Warner Brothers has a shit ton of cable stations. And they have arguably the biggest, probably 2 or 3 in the bunch, with HBO and CNN and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I talked about last week when this went down, is that for Paramount, this is why it's very helpful to them, is because right now, the Walt Disney Company has they're the biggest player when it comes to negotiating with cable and negotiating with advertisers because of their giant powerhouse of ESPN. If you take ESPN out, Disney doesn't have anywhere near the advertising prowess. Now you've got Paramount combined with Warner Brothers. You have a massive swath of cable channels for Warner Brothers that all come down through a very popular streaming service in HBO Max. You combine that, even though TNT and Warner Brothers lost the NBA, which was a good move, frankly, for them, because that $2.5 billion for that rat crap just wasn't worth it. But you combine that now with CBS and the NFL package they have over there, because people are forgetting that's going to be coming up this year, as a matter of fact, the NFL. And as I've said before, I think that NFL renegotiation is going to be very punishing for Fox, because the Fox doesn't have much else besides the NFL that really drives it.
Mm-hmm.
Fox, if the NFL really wants to stick it to them, Fox could be in trouble.
Well, all Fox is now is a
and-
network and a cable state, like cable
Yeah.
networks. So yeah,
Paramount's in a much better position because they're far more diversified.
and we have to be clear. There's Fox, and then there's 20th Century, which now that's the thing. Like we got to be clear on that.
Just the TV station Fox and the Fox Sports networks and all that kind of. I mean, the TV station Fox and Fox News goes with it.
Because that was the one thing that Disney didn't buy was the actual Fox.
Right? They couldn't. They
I
weren't
couldn't
allowed
believe
to.
it.
Yeah, well, they weren't allowed to.
Is that the truth? Because otherwise, I would have bought the whole thing. Said you find a different name. You're News Corporation now. Deal with it.
No, they can't,
So-
because they already owned ABC, the FCC. You can't have.
I know,
two-
but I'm talking about the name itself, though. Like, because to
Oh.
me, 20th Century Fox is the name. That's the logo. That's what you're buying. With
Yeah.
Now they're just 20th Century Studios, and they release 5 movies a year, and they're all Predator
Well,
and Alien movies.
That's 'cause Disney threw them down the can. They decided they did. That was the
And
inexplicable.
that's where I
thing.
think this is a big deal with the regulatory commission might come in and say, wait a minute here, because we've already made, like you said, we made a mistake with the Fox deal.
Well,
We
I
don't want to see the same mistake here.
I don't. Well, maybe, but eventually, all of these deals, guess what happens? They get approved. It's
not
just like
wrong.
the Fox one. So, but no, back to Paramount though. You've now got a lot of. You're going to have a lot more clout with Paramount. The ability for them to be able to negotiate not only with cable renewals, sports rights, and the ability to make a much better offer to advertising packages. The scary thing is for guys like Disney is because now Paramount and Warner Brothers together, they are going to have as compelling, if not more compelling, and a bigger power seat at the table than Disney does when it comes to things like upfronts and advertising.
So that's what I wanted to ask about, Valiant. If I can get this into you, if this all goes through in the media landscape, who are the biggest companies now? Like, where does this land in the hierarchy? Netflix, Disney, Paramount, Skydance, Bros. I don't know what we're going to call this thing, but like, what are we looking at now in terms of who's bigger than who?
Based on what?
Based on all these acquisitions and IPs, and I guess just the power to bring movies and streaming. Exclude theme parks for a minute, because that doesn't really weigh in on the media
parks, I
side.
think it would be
Market cap,
Paramount, Warner Brothers, basically, or
No,
Skydance, whatever you want to call
Not
it.
market cap, because Disney's a different kind of beast. Comcast's a different kind of beast. But just
that's
in
what I'm
terms of
asking.
media empires,
I would say
Media-
that the Skydance merger makes this deal.
Is this bigger
is
than
what I've been
Disney now?
saying. Yes, as far as like certain aspects of it, if you take out the parks, abso-fucking-lutely.
Yep.
Because they own more media, more IPs, more television stations. I mean, these are two of the biggest, oldest studios in Hollywood combining, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Universal by itself is now just kind of like a lone wolf in the pack, because Sony and Lionsgate aren't even nearly on the same platform as those guys. Like,
Right.
Sony's big, don't get me wrong, but they're like the bottom of the barrel of the big guys. And Lionsgate is basically a major mini, right? And then from there on out, there's nothing.
That'll be who Netflix buys next.
Yes, I'm actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because my prediction the other day is that the next thing that Netflix does is buy Sony Pictures
consolation prize.
Well,
or Columbia / whatever. They'll buy them out.
Sony's got to put them up for sale, though. I don't know if they're going to do that.
Doesn't matter. They'll still come in and they'll find a way to finagle it, make a deal.
They
Because
can bid
Rothman's
it.
been there for a while. They'll do it. We'll see what happens. Sony as a company hasn't been the same. The only the thing is outside of the video games, what is Sony anymore?
They
Walkman?
still have a huge business on imaging equipment, cameras, and everything else. And
but a lot of it's stuff that's not so much to the consumer market as much as it used to be.
We need a Sony phone.
Still is. It's
We need
not
a
as
Sony
much.
phone. Come on.
When's the last time you bought a Sony TV? When's the last time you bought a Sony stereo? When's the last time you bought anything that wasn't a Sony fucking PlayStation that had Sony on it? Pardon my French,
yeah,
but seriously.
but you're looking at it from an American perspective.
Doesn't matter. I get that, but we're at a point where what is
It's
Sony
still a
Pictures worth to
Japanese-owned
them?
company that still makes
It
a
is.
shitload of money. It's worth billions.
But what is
and
it worth
billions
to
and billions.
them? Like the only reason they bought Columbia was so that they had videotapes to put in their VCRs. Like, let's not mistake that for a moment. Remember this, back in 1990, the only design they had on Columbia TriStar was we want to be in the business of the things that you shove in our machines. And then and that's exactly what it was.
No, I love that marketing pitch.
And it was the same thing with the DVDs and CDs and all that kind of stuff beyond that. And their whole thing with DVD is we're not going to make the same mistake we did with CDs. We're going to own this son of a bitch. So not only do we own the machine that you play it on, we own that floppy little disc that you play it on too. So every studio has to pay. They're not as big as they used to be. They used to be a big kid on the block, but now they're just barely hanging in there with the PlayStation 5. They're just lucky that the PlayStation 5 kind of won that war and that they didn't dump a bunch of money into a streaming service. They had the little streaming
from a consumer
things.
standpoint or not, but I mean,
Yes,
it's still
all overall. Like, I think it's kind of done for them at this point. What do they have to gain anymore with a studio like that? They're going to flip over to mainly just consumer products, commercial products, and the Sony PlayStation and video gaming. There's very little for them to keep the movie studio going because they don't even sell movies anymore. Like, that was kind of their whole thing, was like, you buy the PlayStation. What did you get with the PlayStation 3? It wasn't a game. It was Spider-Man 3, the Blu-ray. Like, nowadays, they don't care about any of that crap. You don't even get a game with them anymore.
Tom is dropping the truth bombs. Keep this man away from the Middle East. He is on fire tonight.
Well, I mean, Sony's still worth almost $150 billion. It's owned by the Japanese. It's owned by the Japanese.
But how much did they just
Sony,
get Warner Brothers paid for?
It's owned
and that's
by
just a movie studio.
It's owned by the Japanese, and Sony Pictures is not one of their biggest brands. They want to decide to sell it. That's up to them.
Somebody said Spider-Man in the chat. The problem with Spider-Man?
Now you're talking about international issues. You have to get the Japanese government has to approve it.
Oh yeah, but here's my point. Okay, like, and we'll get to this, like, bottom line, and then I'll shut up about this. People brought up Spider-Man in the chat. They don't technically own Spider-Man. They just have the film rights. They don't even have toy rights and all this other stuff. They don't even technically own all the rights to Ghostbusters anymore.
Do they have gaming rights on Spider-Man? I don't know the answer to that.
They do, I believe, but I think Disney still has controlling rights over. See, it's all like, that's the thing. I've even predicted at some point in the next 5 years that Disney will end up buying back the rights to Spider-Man, not because it's profitable for Sony, but because it just makes more sense for everybody. Because at this point, outside of Tom Rothman claiming they're going to try one more time with these Spider-Man characters, what does it benefit them to hang on to it? Because they don't have any of the toy rights. They'd be better off selling it off, making a bunch of money off it right now, and then making a deal with Disney to just get a back end for the next few Spider-Verse films. Because even producing those movies, they don't really make any money on them. Sony doesn't really have anything but what they direct to market stuff like with Netflix and all that kind of stuff. That's where they're making their money. That's why they're staying in the black right now, because they're not making any major mistakes, like making a bunch of Star Wars films that aren't making any money or anything like that. They're not sinking a bunch of money into Spider-Man properties. Disney and Marvel are taking care of that shit for them. They don't have anything else that's really big. You know, even Ghostbusters is kind of just like this niche brand now that's kind of off to the side.
Well, let's see how K-Pop Demon Hunters 2 does.
That's a little different scenario. See, here's where you might have seen, this is Valiant, where you should have interjected. You should have said, wait a minute here. With the Japanese market, though, what they do have is an inroad with the anime / whatever crowd when it comes to that kind of stuff. That might be the difference maker for them, because over there, in that sense, that's worth it. But what is their American side of Sony worth to them anymore? The Columbia TriStar stuff. Like, I don't think that catalog is worth jack shit to them.
Well, but that's who's making it for Netflix. I don't know what.
And that's what I mean. I think they'll be better off selling that shit to Netflix. But that's just my plausible future for this.
We'll see. It's a lot higher hill to climb than something like a Lionsgate if they really want to. But even then, I think Netflix. Here's the problem.
Lionsgate's a Canadian studio too. Keep that in mind.
Well, they spun themselves off from Stars. So
are they American now?
When they I believe, because they report here under the SEC.
Okay.
I mean, they do quarterly earnings reports. I mean, I've covered Lionsgates before, but
I
no,
see Amazon probably soaking up Lionsgate before I do Netflix, but you could be right.
Here's the problem: is that if you're Netflix, and this is my point, Ted Sarandos' comment about we're not going to be looking at making any other acquisitions for at least 6 to 12 months. I don't think they need to. I mean, Netflix's
this is like a
model,
5-year down the line. Yeah.
Yeah, but even still, I wouldn't do it. Why would Netflix want to spend 40, 50 billion dollars or whatever? They don't need to. I'm going to tell you why they're going to be reluctant to do it, at least for a very, very long time. And that is that Wall Street investors just absolutely fucking punished Netflix for the temerity of wanting
You're not
to do
wrong.
this. They punished the hell out of them because everybody asked the obvious question. You've built an entire market on your own. You've built an entire product from scratch. You created an entire industry, and all you've done is grow. Why do you need to then suddenly jump into 2 or 3 other lanes? You don't need to do this. Your revenue is growing at record levels year over year. Your subscribership is still growing, now over 325 million globally. You have record profits now approaching, or not only in profits in dollars, which they make more dollar profit than the Walt Disney Company does on less than half the revenue. And their profit margins continue to explode year over year. I mean, I was marveling just a couple of years ago when they broke 20, then they broke 25, and now they're just a nut hair away from breaking a 30% profit margin, which they'll undoubtedly do this year. They don't need to go anywhere else. They don't need to buy a studio. And it was funny because even on the earnings call, especially this past one with Netflix and some of the other comments that have been out there, even though they didn't want to answer questions about the pending deal with Warner Brothers because at the time nothing had yet been announced. And it was, why don't you just go right on instead of coming out of pocket 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 billion dollars? Just keep signing billion-dollar multi-year deals with Universal and Sony and Paramount and Warner Brothers, for that matter, to get their shit for the pay-2 window, or share the pay-1 window in the case of Universal. It works, and therefore there's no massive debt that Netflix is taking on. They're not wrecking their balance sheet to do it, and they're not getting involved. Or frankly, see, and this was the thing for me, I think Netflix would have been overpaying. Even though it might have been the same dollar amount for, say, Paramount that they paid, or even slightly more for Paramount, the reason I think Netflix would have been overpaying is because even though, for example, the linear assets are on a decline, right? There's still value. There's still revenue coming in there every year. Yes, there would have been a lot of debt, or that would have gotten spun out on the case of Netflix, but for all the reasons I was talking about before with Paramount, creating an economy of scale to create a more advertising-friendly powerhouse that eventually they probably will consolidate everything down to just streaming eventually a few years down the road, because why not? But for Netflix, they don't want to be in the TV business, the traditional TV business. They seemed, up until 3 months ago, completely disgusted by the idea of going into theatrical, and then suddenly pivoted into that. My question and contention the whole time was, if Netflix just kind of reverts back to what Netflix has always been, even if it's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road, then the value that they paid for Warner Brothers is basically, all they did was buy a spate of IPs. And they probably overpaid, or at least in some cases, not even the IPs themselves, but the rights, the movie rights to certain IPs, right? Not even the core, like Warner Brothers actually owns DC, but they don't own Harry Potter. They don't own Lord of the Rings.
Right, and that's
They
kind
got
of the same thing with
rights to
Sony,
it.
but yeah.
So, I mean, and that's kind of the issue there. So for Netflix, I think it's a bad, I mean, unless they could pick up something for a real song.
Well,
They're basically buying film rights to something, or movie rights or TV rights to something individually, great. But as far as gobbling up a whole studio, honestly, I think it's one of the stupidest things that Netflix could do from a business standpoint, because they don't need to.
you may be right, but also at the same time, I was looking at it as, it's like, okay, we're like, say, McDonald's, but not only we're McDonald's, but we bought the beef company that provides us with the beef. So now we're cutting out the middleman, right? That's kind of where I was looking at with Netflix, is like, if they bought Warner Brothers, I believe Sarandos when he said that they probably wouldn't change a whole lot. It would just continue to run as it is for the most part, because that's what they wanted. They wanted an in-row right up to be plugged right into the Hollywood system, which then feeds into their, so it's basically, like I said, like, McDonald's buying the beef company that supplies them the beef, right? Now, the difference there between a Sony acquisition, let's say, like we were just talking, and I said the way that argument would have went for me personally, that would have gotten me to the point where I needed to be, would be you bringing up the anime stuff, which I said, yeah, that's a good point. But here's the thing, is I agree with you. At that point, when they buy somebody like Sony and stuff like that, it's not so much to get on the theatrical stage. It would be more so just to get a hold of that catalog. And that catalog is what is lucrative for them as far as like the television rights and all that kind of stuff. Because make no mistake about it, now that Warner Brothers and Paramount will merge, if that does happen, they will dwarf anybody else's catalogs by far. And that's the next game in Hollywood right now in these streaming wars and all this kind of business. And I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, but I think that's where it's going to head, is whoever has the most IPs to be able to sell around and make the most money back. See, because it's not going to be about what they put on their own streaming services. It's going to be about what they can license out to other places.
That's 1,000% correct in my opinion.
That's it. And that's
exactly.
The Paramount and Warner Brothers thing kind of creates a big powerhouse of IP that obviously is still going to get licensed back to
because
Netflix.
Sony has Screen Gems, they have all these other companies, plus they have their television, which was up until Paramount and Warner Brothers merged, Sony was right clipping at their heels like number 3 as far as owning the most television stuff, because they have a lot of classic game shows and Lorimar, I believe they own, and all these other stuff that they've soaked up over the years. So
what if Paramount does what Disney should have done in the first place with Disney Plus? What if Paramount turns around after combining Warner Brothers and Paramount together, and HBO Max and Paramount Plus, eventually, it'll probably take a couple of years, will coalesce into a singular service. Probably if David Ellison's smart, they will keep HBO Max as the streaming service and then merge Paramount Plus.
They might have to.
They should, because HBO Max, obviously HBO is the bigger brand name.
Or they might have to keep them separate in general. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is where I'm not so sure it's going to work out for Ellison the way he wants it to. Well, this is a little different because Fox didn't have a streaming service.
No, that's
right?
what, they're not going to have to. He's not going to have to keep anything separate for very long. Just like David Zaslav, they brought Discovery in. They had a Discovery streaming service for $5 a month, and you had HBO.
Yeah, but Discovery is a
Max
cable network, not a studio. See, this is where I think things are going to get more complicated.
It won't matter though. It won't matter though. I mean, it's just you can put it all under one banner, because operating 2 streaming services separately is too damn expensive. Part of the cost synergies, you can save billions in costs over a couple of years by eliminating one of the operating systems of a streaming service and combining it with another, because why not? And also, it's better for advertisers. It's a singular point source. I mean, you can sell more advertising more easily because everything goes through here and then the watch time. But here's my point. What if they just go, you know what? We're going to still make some original content for our streaming service. We know what works, especially the big stuff, obviously like the Game of Thrones stuff and things like that for HBO. And then I know they're not going to have Taylor Sheridan much longer at Paramount, but you know, you got some Guy Ritchie stuff. They'll do some things there. So they just start selling all of their movies first run 90 days after theatrical release goes to Netflix. Doesn't go to HBO Max anymore. Doesn't go to Paramount Plus anymore. Netflix gets the first 6 months of the pay one window. They do a universal kind of deal. And all of a sudden, now they're bringing in potentially billions more over the course of 5 years than they were before. In other words, what Disney Plus should have done from the beginning. Just use Disney Plus as a freaking catalog for $5 or $6 a month, even though obviously we're not going down to $5, $6 a month for HBO and Paramount. But using Disney Plus as that, instead of gobbling up all your first-run theatrical stuff, go let Netflix pay you for it, just like Universal does with the split pay one with Peacock. What if they finally do this over there between Paramount and HBO? You know, because a lot of people are talking about all the cost-cutting they're going to have to do, but they're not talking about all the potential for lots of additional revenue if they make a few tweaks over there. I mean, now, first-run stuff dumps on Paramount Plus first before it goes anywhere else. Warner Brothers stuff goes to HBO Max first before it goes anywhere else. They could flip that around. Or like I said, they could do the Universal model where they split it. It first 4 months, it's on the native streaming service, and then it goes over to Netflix for the next 10, 12 months.
The difference here, though, is you have 2 of the bigger streamers up against Universal, who does that with their Peacock streaming service instead of going there directly. They, you know, like you said. But the difference is they're not nearly as big. And it's not for every movie, because I'm pretty sure like Jurassic World wound up on Peacock already and stuff like that. So the windows for these things is so small. It's like I can't imagine that they're worth all that much. And I don't see Ellison seeing the value in putting, let's say, Scream 7, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said already, 36 days, I guarantee you that son of a bitch is probably going to be on Paramount Plus because that's the average for the last two. And the first one I think was even quicker because it was still in the tail end of the COVID shit.
Well, the first was 2022 and then 2023. Let's see what happens with this.
We'll see. And the second one, same thing. It went to streaming pretty damn quick. And it had great openings, but that's the thing is once they start to taper off,
so then
Paramount has no qualms about,
why not take the deal then with Netflix?
I see what you're saying, but will they? That's my question is I don't know if it's going to be, they're going to want to keep their stuff as exclusive as possible. That's still I think they're laboring under that idea, but we just lost Valiant again. So, yeah. But it'll be interesting to see.
Well. Looks like we're going to have a real fun show for the rest of the way. Folks, get ready. It's time to play What Gets Us Demonetized. Tom, what are you going to play today?
Well, I could always say the naughty word, but, I don't know if I can blame Tourette's.
I'll tell you what, let's hit some super chats while we're waiting for Vine to get back. John Apocalypse, member for 17 months. This feeling with Iran is what a lot of people probably felt when the Berlin Wall fell down. My dad thought that would never happen in his life. It's historic, for sure. Let's see what happens, but tear down that Tehran. We've got Marcus Quintus out there for 5. Earlier, reported 3 dead, 5 wounded U.S. soldiers in a missile attack. Location not given. Continue to pray for our soldiers, Marines, and airmen. You bet. The best of us out there, and we wish everybody well. Folks, say a prayer for all of those in harm's way, and especially for our military. We've also got Marcus Quintus for 5. Newsflash. This is the funniest super chat of the day. Marcus, you win. Valiant, you get to read this one because this is the best super chat ever.
Oh, I hate StreamYard today. Marcus Quintus for $5. Newsflash, France has surrendered in the Middle East. They just don't know to whom yet. I've been seeing all the French surrender jokes out there. It's been something.
We surrender.
Yep. And
Valiant, I've got to hop out. So after this one, let's do the Shrebbles and we'll...
Oh, yeah. I've only got a couple left here. I'm actually looking forward to Scary Movie 6. We saw the previews. We're excited by it. I was honestly, when I saw the previews, I was looking more forward to seeing that than I was the movie that was about to come on, which was Scream 7, which turned out to be okay. I was okay.
Tatiana Maslany's going to hate you for it. She doesn't like you. She said don't go see it. She-Hulk herself said boycott it. Valiant, you didn't listen.
Scary Movie 6 looks like everybody's
characters.
Nobody's off limits in that from what it looks like.
Archer says for 30 films a year, Paramount, even if they hit $1 billion every film, it'd take them 4 years to try and break even on the sale if I understood their plan. Well, sure. I mean, if it's just films, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not when you're buying something like this.
30 films a year happening either.
Buying equity, right? It's like if you go buy a house for $250,000, you didn't really just spend $250,000. You took $250,000 in cash, some of it debt financing, obviously, and you converted it into a $250,000 asset that wasn't cash, real property in that case. So that's really what this is. They're not trying to necessarily make up everything right away, but they know long term it's going to be worth it. These kind of decisions are made at 10-year plus plans. And again, we all think we know what the Ellisons are going to do with this. We don't. We can guess and we can have some fun talking about it, but all right, last one here, and then we got Shrebbles. Mexican Iron Man says, as a 36-month member, breaking Mexican Iron Man to star in a new Paramount series, The Late Night Taco Chronicles.
Mikey! I miss you.
Feliz cumpleaños a ti. Happy birthday, Mike!
Yeah, it was your birthday, yes.
That's right.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
All right, we've got...
I forgot to do the other day on the show, and I know you're trying to get out of here, but I think Mikey deserves this.
What's that?
Mikey, I heard it's your birthday. And when it's your birthday, Bad Tom comes and does stuff. But trust me, it's not that icky stuff that happens on Epstein Island. It's the good stuff like this. I sing a song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Now Culture Casino owes me $20.
Happy birthday, Mike, and I hope Culture doesn't owe you $20.
And we got Trebles for $10 here. Let's see. What have I got to do tonight? Oh, I got to do Meatwad.
Oh, you're going to be Meatwad. I'm Homer. Here we go. Well, I hope they make the Simpsons movie 2 here in 2 years from now.
Damn it, Homer, they'll just AI your voice and make your film 10 years from now.
What, you little Meatwad?
Appreciate it, Trebles. All right, thank you guys for coming to hang out tonight. Appreciate you. We'll have some new stuff coming this week, and good to see everybody. I hear somebody in the background there. I think everybody just got home. So,
by the way, Valiant, as you end, more than 1,000 watching right now across your various platforms. This is the place to be, folks, for the financial lens of entertainment. Well done. Another great show, Valiant.
We do what we can. Appreciate everybody being here. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.